All
Dr.
right, there he
Ben, how
is.
are you?
Oh man, I'm having a pretty good day. How about you?
Having an excellent day over here.
Okay. So what I wanted to do was just kind of have a dialogue about the whole COVID situation. Especially curious to see what your experience is like over there on the East Coast, and you're not too far from New York, where things are kind of the worst, as I understand it. And so I just kind of want to get your take on all that. But before we do that, why don't you just tell all my followers like a little bit about you and your background and the work that you do and your perspective and stuff like that.
All right. I'd love to. Dr. Ben, thank you so much for having me on, first and foremost. My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca, and I am an upper cervical chiropractor in West Orange, New Jersey. And for those who have never heard the term upper cervical, it's a specialty within the chiropractic field. We specialize in the upper neck. We see a lot of neurological conditions, headaches, seizures, post-concussion syndrome, autoimmune disorders. We see it all. And the reason I got into upper cervical chiropractic was because it saved my life about 7 or 8 years ago. I had a bunch of ice hockey concussions, and the last one left me with blurred vision, dizziness, headaches, severe brain fog, hand tremors, anxiety, depression. A lot of stuff similar to your story too, Ben. I got really sick. My digestive system was shot. And I think we both went the standard medical route. We saw a lot of medical doctors, medical practitioners. They gave us a lot of pharmaceutical drugs to mask the symptoms. And when I was taking the pharmaceuticals, I was just thinking to myself, how on earth is this going to get me better? This is not solving the root cause of the problem. And I grew up as a kid, vaccinations, antibiotics for any ear infections, and all that. And my parents are very smart people. It's just that's what we are trained to do in America, is seek the Western medical pharmaceutical route first. And I think that plays into a big part of what we're doing here today, is because we both have been down that road and it's both failed us miserably. And thank God for going down that road, because a lot of people that haven't, they're believing all the propaganda and the fear that's going on right now. And it's a shame to see. And you and I, who have been down the other side of it, I think have a better understanding of what's going on. And I'm not downplaying the situation. My heart goes out to anybody that lost loved ones during this time. But I am pretty close to the epicenter of everything that's going on right now. I'm 12 miles northwest of New York City. A lot of my patients come from New York City. And it's funny. I talk to all my patients, family, friends. I don't know one person that's had it. Like I legit don't know one person that has suffered with this. And I have been mask free this entire time. No gloves, no masks. And it's more so of what I believe in as a person. As chiropractors, we say the power that made the body heals the body, and that our bodies are fully capable of healing themselves. And you take care of your body, you have a healthy immune system. I don't think there's any reason to fear this quote unquote pandemic. I take care of a lot of ER doctors and emergency care doctors as well. And the rates are dropping, and they're all telling me it's time to open the country back up, because it's just unbelievable what they're doing to lives around the country. I mean, people are losing their jobs. There's fear instilled in everybody. And we both know what fear does to the immune system. Causes serious inflammation, disease, and it's just very sad to see.
Yeah, I mean, and I like how you segued that we both went down that medical road with all the hopes that they were going to take care of us. and found out that they couldn't, not because of any maliciousness, but they just weren't equipped to deal with the conditions that we had. And they're basically, now it's the same thing where we're doing this stuff that's like, they're just basically making it up as they go along. And everyone's like, okay, you're in a position of authority. I'm going to obey you and do what you say. I just saw an article today on CBS was basically saying, hey, have you lost your job? Be a contract tracer, which basically means like on people who are going outside without a mask.
I've seen that.
Like, we've taken your job away. Now you can join and be part of the police state.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and I feel like probably like you to some degree that I'm living in bizarro world where it's like, don't y'all see what the heck's going on?
It's
and
crazy.
It's like, no, I trust medicine. Of course. What are you talking about? You're crazy.
Well, why are we taking all our medical advice from a guy that invented computers? Like, why is he the voice of reason for, besides all the money at hand in big pharma? America is taking their advice from medical advice from Bill Gates.
Yeah. With no medical degree, health degree, any degree, just some guy who happens to have a lot of money invested in his own solution.
And you know what's really sad too? Some people are legit afraid to go outside, like without a mask, because they think they're gonna get the virus. Like,
yeah,
if the masks work so well, why are all the businesses still closed? If the masks work, open up the businesses, open up America, problem solved. Like, but you think that a mask with cloth is really going to stop the penetration of a microscopic virus? It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So this is surprising to me because I had one patient who got COVID and she recovered, thankfully. And she's the only person I know who got it. And the only way I found out was because I just have a thing where I call all my patients on their birthday, and I called her, asked her how she was doing, and she told me she had COVID. But I'm surprised that within 12 miles of New York City, you don't know anyone who's gotten it.
All right. So the only person I have heard of that has had it is somebody in my mom's wedding party that lives in Florida. That was like a confirmed diagnosis. Nobody anywhere near close to me. I had a couple patients that said they got really sick in January, like December. They were like, it wasn't the flu. I was laid down for probably like 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 weeks. I was out of it, and then I recovered. But I haven't talked to anybody that had the official diagnosis. I have COVID. I can't come to the office. And like I said, I haven't been wearing a mask. And in this pandemic, you would think if you don't wear a mask going through this whole time, you would think that you would contract it if it's so severe. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we got to take precautions to some degree, but, I think it's gotten out of control. And we know, as you and I know as doctors of chiropractic, that there's a bunch of other factors that contribute to health and contribute to your susceptibility to get a disease, any kind of infectious disease.
Absolutely.
And we see people, the ones that are getting real bad, the ones that are croaking, are the ones that they have diabetes, they have heart disease, they're super frail and have old age, they're morbidly obese, they have all these other health problems. But there's no talk about like, hey, maybe it's finally time to do something about that chronic disease and obesity epidemic we have, because these are the people who are just like, in the front lines just getting picked off by this virus. It's
absolutely.
Like, that's not even in the conversation. It's all about like masks and fear and all these sort of like basically prehistoric measures to prevent the disease from happening. So why don't you talk about how chiropractic can help bolster people's immune system? Because I think that's an important thing a lot of people don't know about.
Absolutely. So as I stated before, I'm an upper cervical chiropractor, and I focus on the upper neck where the brainstem is. And every nerve and cell and function in your body starts right up here in the upper neck. And these first 2 bones, they weigh a couple ounces, and they support your head that weighs 10 to 13 pounds given on the person. And there's no disc space here to keep that area cleared out. So it's very easy for the bones to slip out of place or lock out of place. through any type of minor or major fall, trauma, car accident, sports injury. And when that happens, the bone locks out and it cuts off the nerve flow and blood flow to the rest of the body, and the brain can't communicate with the spinal cord and heal itself. So what we do is we take very precise three-dimensional x-rays. We figure out which way the bones have shifted out of alignment, and we put them back into alignment down to the exact millimeter. And once this upper area is cleared up, the power is turned back on in the body, the immune system starts functioning better, you're connected again, and you get that 100% nerve flow and blood flow back to the body. And, you know, a famous B.J. Palmer quote is, every organ in your body is connected to the one under your hat, which is the brain. So this is literally the gateway to our health right here. So if this area is not 100% functioning to its optimal potential, your body's not functioning to its optimal potential. And once you clear that area up, you get checked by a chiropractor, get the immune system functioning again, get the nerve flow back to all the vital organs. You see a lot of miracles happen, and you see sick people get well, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think one thing a lot of people, you know, lose track of is the fact that, like, you know, the nervous system controls and coordinates all the functions of the body, including the immune system, right?
Absolutely.
Like, at number one. And I teach this when I do stuff with autoimmune disease. Like, your immune system's out of whack. Well, what controls your immune system? You know, I'll give you a hint. It's not a drug they shoot you up with.
Yeah.
It's your nervous system. And so, yeah, if that's not functioning optimally, like, you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
So,
and then you add on all the health benefits of changing your diet and going after everything else you can to boost the immune system. It's a match made in heaven to get your body back on track and just living and feeling better.
Yeah. I think, you know, in this country, we're all about the health insurance. Like, what can I do to ensure, like, I got to buy this thing, and if I get sick, it's going to pay for me to get drugs or whatever. But no one's talking about health assurance, like the things you do on a daily basis to assure that you will be well.
Absolutely.
Because I guess, you know, hospitals and private insurance companies can't make money if you do that. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
There's people that spend their lifetime working for a job that's making them sick. I have a lot of patients that work the night shift. They're not getting enough sleep. Is like one of the most crucial things you can do just to boost the immune system and stay healthy. And people are unfortunately slaving away at some jobs that they have to support their family, and it's just wreaking havoc on their immune system. And it's a vicious cycle, and it continues to happen. And yeah, like you said, you don't hear about the people will spend $300 on their internet bill, their big screen TV, but when it comes to their own personal health, some people have difficult time taking the money out of their pocket and taking care of themselves, where that's where it should be spent first.
I mean, hey, you're either going to pay to be sick or you're going to pay to be well, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to pay up front to stay well, or you're going to pay, you know, to be sick. You don't want to be like, there's no bill that can cover you when you're like on a ventilator in the hospital.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you're going to pay. Why not? Being well is a lot nicer than being sick. You're going to pay either way, right?
Absolutely. And on the flip side of that, there are some chiropractors out there that need to do a better job of explaining what they do and what they treat, because unfortunately you do run into some chiropractic offices. They try to sign you up for $5,000 packages, 3 or 4 times a week visits, and that's not right either. So we as chiropractors also have to do a better job of communicating the message of what we do exactly. And there are answers of the quote-unquote alternative healthcare system to keep you well and happy and your family safe during a crisis like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of these crazy events, they bring about contrast that people say, wow, okay, I don't want to get that. I don't have to deal with that. What's my way of avoiding this? And it wakes them up. It's the kick in the pants to take care of their health. And
Absolutely.
I think we're seeing that. And so I think good things are going to come out of this. I have been saying for years, that the healthcare system is just unsustainable and it's
Yeah,
going to collapse
absolutely.
because we know that's like we're just trying to medicate our way out of problems people behave their way into, and it doesn't work. And I think we're finally starting to see that collapse. You know,
Absolutely.
it's scary. Like I feel for all these. I'm seeing now that there are certain medical clinics that are like on GoFundMe trying to get money
Yeah.
to cover their expenses.
Yep. A lot of doctors and nurses are being laid off because some of the hospitals have plummeted a little bit with the intake. Another thing I wanted to touch on too is a lot of people think that once we get this vaccine, that all our problems are going to go away. And I got news for you. There is already a flu vaccine, and people still get the flu every year that get the vaccine. And sometimes it does more harm than good. And it's not the answer. It's not going to solve the problem. Once they get the vaccine ready, I hear they're trying to microchip people. They're taking away our freedom. That's where all this is going down, and it's scary.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's like they put it under the guise of good intentions. Like, okay, well, we need to know who's vaccinated and who's not, so we can, don't expose anybody. But then it's like, but now people are microchipped so they can track them. And, who's to say whether they won't use that for nefarious means or not? And we've already seen, I mean, I don't know how much of this you've seen, but I've seen a lot of it where people are speaking up, they're speaking out, they're challenging the narrative, and they're getting censored. They're getting dropped.
100%.
Or Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, deleted. So think what happens if you speak out.
Did you see those doctors out in California? The urgent care doctors that screened like 5,000 patients, and they ran their own results, and they came out the numbers, and all the numbers were very similar to the yearly flu that comes in. Less than 1% chance of dying, and everything was very similar to the flu. And they made a video about it, and boom, shut down. You can't find the video really anywhere. There's a lot of information getting censored, and you got to ask yourself, why is that? Why are we only being told the mainstream narrative and everything else is getting shut down?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've never seen, this is like China level censorship. Like I've never seen it this bad. And I think on the good side is that people are waking up. They're like, wait, why is everything getting censored so bad? Why did this Judy Mikovits documentary get uploaded and deleted like 100,000 times?
Tell me a little bit about that. I haven't seen that. I've heard good things. What's going on with that?
Okay, so good question. So Judy Mikovits is a PhD research scientist, and she's had a PhD, and I think it was like biochemistry and molecular biology since the 1980s. She's worked for the NIH in various positions in the government, and she was involved in the original discovery of HIV. So she's done a lot of virology stuff. And what happened is that in 2009, she isolated a virus. Because chronic fatigue has been around since apparently the 1930s, but it got really bad in the 80s and 90s. And she isolated a virus called XMRV, which she found that 96% of people who had chronic fatigue syndrome or CME, which is the autoimmune condition I had this virus in their bloodstream. And that only about 4% of the general population who didn't have the disease had it. And XMRV stands for like xenotropic. It's a mouse virus. It's a mouse retrovirus that comes from mice. And so she isolated, they published the paper in Science, and then everyone said, whoa, 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 there's a mouse retrovirus that causes chronic fatigue syndrome and prostate cancer, and it's in the blood supply, and people have it. Like, this is bad news, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like the AIDS epidemic in the 80s when they found that like Arthur Ashe and Ryan White like contracted AIDS or HIV from the blood supply, from getting blood donation. So now, well, what if people can go to a blood bank, get a blood transfusion, and get XMRV and get chronic fatigue syndrome? Like, this is bad.
Yeah, true.
And it also raised the flag of like, how did we get a mouse retrovirus in people? No one was eating mice.
Yeah.
Like it had to come from somewhere. And the only logical explanation is that they use mouse cells to culture viruses to make vaccines. I think a lot of people don't get this, is that to grow a virus in a lab to make a vaccine, you have to feed it something, right? Like you can't feed it peanut butter. It's a virus. It infects human and animal cells. And this is what blows my mind. I'm a vegan, and I have vegan friends who don't know this, that they actually, you know, use animals to grow viruses, and then they're shooting you up with the animal, and then there's viruses in those animals that we never heard of, we never checked for. They're just it naturally exist in their body, and no one thought, well, maybe we should check if this is safe first. Nope.
Yeah, there's no tests being done, long-term tests being done to the vaccines. They don't need to. They're immune to it. They're protected.
Yeah, there's all these things they don't search for, and then it comes around to bite them in the butt, and they go, oops. So we know there's another retrovirus called SV40, simian virus 40. And so a few people are saying murine rodents. Yes, that's what the M in XMRV stands for. And mouse ovaries are used in biologics. And so this is how it gets in there. We used monkey kidney cells to culture the what's it called? The polio virus in the 60s. And then we found out that, oops, there's this SV40 in there, and that can cause cancer. And a scientist who pointed it out got kicked out and was like, never heard from again. And it wasn't until like the 1990s that the CDC finally came and said, oh, you know what? We did have SV40 in the vaccines back in the 60s. We kind of goofed, but don't worry. It's okay. It's safe. And we've taken it out, so don't even worry about it. You know, besides the fact that they found SV40s in tumors, you know. So it's basically that they would have got caught with their pants down if her article had stayed out.
Right.
And so she had a special way of isolating the virus. They did another study where they only used like 15 people. They did a very rudimentary way of trying to isolate the virus that didn't work. And they published it and said, oh, you know what? We can't find this virus in there. Her work is a load of bollocks. You know, we gotta kick her out, strip her of her title, retract her article. And so now she's coming forward and saying like, hey, and she wasn't allowed to talk about it because of statute of limitations for like a long time. And now she's finally coming forward. She wrote a couple of books about it. And she, you know, because Tony Fauci was involved and a lot of people who are involved in the current scamdemic, pandemic, a lot of these players were involved in giving her the boot and basically fabricating her retraction back in the day. She's calling them out.
Yeah.
And so it's like triple bad because she's calling out that you know, the current pandemic's in large a scam. There's XMRVs in the blood supply. There's XMRVs in the vaccine supply. And if you know, word gets about this and they're liable, I mean, it's hundreds of billions of dollars that got to be paid to people who got sick.
Right. And I mean, that's a lot of what we're seeing now of a lot of the real research and numbers that are coming out with the coronavirus. You're seeing that it's, I mean, less than 1% morbidity rate, and it's really not as bad as it seems. And how is America going to backtrack after that when hundreds of thousands of people are losing their jobs, people can't work, you know, suicide rates going up, businesses are in foreclosure? How is America going to backtrack and say, oops, we made a mistake, when they're literally ruining people's lives because of they shut down America? How do you backtrack when the real information comes out and says, oh, shit, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have shut down the country. They can't do it. That's why everything's being censored.
Yeah, I mean, you can only cover it up for so long. You know, the truth is going to come out.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, you know, the more you try to cover it up, it's just like, it's like whack-a-mole. Like it just keeps coming back and people ask more and more questions. And I think this has caused a lot of people I know that were on the fence or kind of unsure about things to wake up and go, okay, something more is at play here. This isn't right, you know, and then they're going to start digging and they're going to find out a bunch of stuff that they wish, you know, that they've been ignorant of the whole time. And so, I mean, I think it's going to get dicey, but I think in the end, the truth is going to prevail. And the harder that they try to push tyranny, the more we're going to fight back because people just aren't going to go along.
I'm interested to see what goes on with California, because didn't they come out today where they're just like, you know what, we're just shutting it down till August? It's like, what?
Yeah,
you're just going to just do another 3 months when it looks like things are turning the corner and things are getting better? You're just going to shut down the state for another 3 months? Like, when are the riots going to start? When are people going to start to revolt? Because people need to work. People need to feed their families, and you just shut down the state for another 3 months. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies state to state. And, you know, my first year in practice, I was out in California and left. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got the hell out of there.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Beautiful
state, but
yeah. And in New York's in trouble. So I think it's going to vary state by state.
Yeah.
And I think, to a large degree, we're going to have essentially refugees that are going to be leaving some of these police states. Yeah. And coming to places where they have some more freedom.
Absolutely.
As crazy as that sounds, I mean, it's like the idea that there are American refugees like leaving, it just sounds like a third world problem, but like that's kind of what I think is going to go down. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's definitely a possibility, and it makes sense. It's so interesting too, because I heard on the radio a couple days ago that New Jersey, especially down by the shore, the money comes in the summer, and they're talking about reopening the restaurants 50% just to get some people down there. And then you got people on the West Coast where it's completely shut down. You got Florida that's opening up some businesses and everything. So everybody's on a different page. And I guess we're going to see how it works with the states that really reopen and start doing some things. And I mean, I saw another article about like some of the flyover states in Kentucky and everything where they really haven't been hit that hard. It's very rural. There's really no reason to shut down the economy over there. And like I said before, it's a disaster. It's a shame. People are suffering, and people are losing their jobs. They're losing their livelihood. And for what?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm all about saving lives. That's why we both got into healthcare to help people with their health. But you know, it's like now it's like the treatment is worse than the disease once again.
Right.
And so it's all, you know, it's like these intentions to protect people, and it's like we're harming so many more people than we're protecting, because we've, you know, blown out of proportion how bad the disease is. And the media is really doing a good job of like painting people like us as essentially like, oh, we're only interested in like financial self-interest, and we're just greedy and we don't care about human life. And it's like, no, we do. Okay. Because we're in healthcare to really take care of people, especially the people who couldn't be taken care of by this barbaric existing system that's so dysfunctional. It's like we know more than anybody like what people need and what they don't. But you know, we're still in the minority, but I think we're growing. I think there's a you know, a more and more bigger minority that's eventually going to become the majority.
Absolutely.
And I feel pretty fortunate that I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I still have a business. I'm still taking care of people. I'm still, you know, able to pay my bills, and I'm still, you know, like financially, I'm doing actually better than I have been. As crazy as it sounds, but like I don't, you know, I don't feel any guilt to that, because all the money people giving me is going to help them.
Right.
But for a lot of people out there, you know, it's a dire situation, and people are asking in the comments like, what can we do? What should we do?
Start living your lives again. Start living your lives again. If you look at the real data, it's not as bad as it seems. And if you have a healthy immune system, your body should be able to fight it off. Like I said, there's people that are unfortunately passing away with secondary situations. But who knows if that would have happened from other life events anyway. So they're slapping COVID on everything. You go to the hospital and you die from something, it's COVID, whether it is or isn't. So who knows what the real data is, because they get money every time a COVID death happens. They bill it and they get money.
Yeah, and you and I know that well. As chiropractors, I assume you don't take insurance either?
No, all cash.
But, you know, people that take insurance, like it's a whole cat and mouse game between them and the insurance company, and they're constantly trying to bill the insurance at the highest rate to get paid the most money. So, you know, doctors may be ethical and all that, but when it comes to hospitals, they're trying to keep their doors open. If they can make an extra 13 grand or an extra 40 grand by calling something COVID, like,
yeah, why not?
Really expect everybody to behave honestly? I mean, it's absurdity.
Yeah.
And we all know the doctors out there, whether they're in our profession or in other professions, who are basically just milking the system and just trying to bill as high as they can and just grab that money out of the health insurance system and basically commit fraud.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but those people exist out there in every profession. And if you think
Right.
like everyone's being honest and not scraping money off the top, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, my advice to everybody right now is get out there, start living your life. And if you want the option of quarantining yourself, you still have that option. Stay inside. Don't do your social distancing. Stay away from people. That's if that's really, if you're scared of doing that and that's what you want to do, you have that option. But it's getting to the point where let's start getting our lives back. We've seen the real data, and it's time to open back up.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if we learn anything, it's like the government and the healthcare system is not going to take care of us. Like, as much
Right.
as they may be intentioned to do so, they're so misguided and bumbling. It's like, y'all, we got to start taking care of ourselves.
Yep.
You and I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
We learned it a longer time ago, the hard way. And now it's like a lot of people are learning this the hard way. So I think
Absolutely.
my charge to everyone on here is like, now's the time to evaluate how are you taking care of yourself and how can you step up and improve? Because
Absolutely.
nobody else is going to save you. Like, I'm not coming to save you. Dr.
Yeah.
Kevin, you're not coming to save anybody. Like, they got to take ownership of themselves.
Absolutely. Turn off the news and start doing some reliable research online of just how to take care of your immune system naturally, because that's what's going to get you better.
All right. Well, man, it's been a while since we've talked, and it's too bad that it has to be under these circumstances. But it's been good to catch up and, bounce ideas off each other and just, get to the bottom of what the hell's going on. Anything else you want to say, or, where can people find you online? Because you got a podcast. Any last words? Take us out here.
Yeah, so people can find me online at drkevinpecca.com, drkevinpecca.com. I'm on Instagram at Kevin Pecca. My practice is on Facebook at Montclair Upper Cervical. My podcast is called Expect Miracles, iTunes, Spotify, written blogs. And it's all just about getting the truthful information out there. I have healers, doctors, people with amazing life stories. And that's one of the I've had you on as a special guest. The reason I made that podcast is to get the true information on how you can take the best care of yourself. And my advice is don't feed into the fear. Your body is perfectly capable of healing itself. Don't feed into the fear, because it's getting ridiculous at this point. Start living your life. Take care of yourself. And I wish everybody nothing but health and happiness. And if I can be of any service to you, please reach into, you can DM me, or you can reach out to me on the other platforms. I'd love to have a talk with you.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Pecca. Catch you next time. All right.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Be
Thanks,
well.
everybody, for watching.
Thank
All right.
you. Bye.